Good morning and welcome to Rose Red Homestead, where we focus on food security, emergency preparedness, and self-reliance. And today we are going to be doing cherry pie filling. We want to have lots of quarts of cherry pie filling on our shelf so that we will be able to make cherry pie filling in the event that things go south and there's no longer access to grocery stores. We are always preparing with that idea in mind. Now, I've had a really difficult time finding pie cherries. Usually they are Montgomery, they're the tart cherries. I so much prefer to make cherry pie with tart cherries, and they simply do not grow around here. But we were recently up north where my sister Cindy and brother-in-law John hosted a party for me for my 80th birthday. On one of their trips down the freeway, they found a cherry orchard that did sell those cherries, and so I asked her to please purchase for me 30 pounds of cherries, and which she did, and then saved them for us so that when we were up there for my birthday bash, then I was able to pick those up, and she froze them in these containers in 4-cup increments. And so these are now solid. They were frozen solid when we got them home, but I have thawed all of them. I have 15 containers like this, which is going to mean we're going to be doing probably a dozen, maybe 14 or 15 quarts of cherry pie filling, so I am really excited. We are going to be using the recipe from the USDA and University of Georgia National Center for Home Food presentation on cherry pie filling. It's a great recipe. It's basic and it is wonderful. And we can can it. We can can very, very few things with a thickener in it, a thickening agent. This and cherry pie filling, apple pie filling are two of the recipes that allow us to use a thickening agent. That thickening agent is a modified cornstarch. It is not regular cornstarch, so don't use regular cornstarch because it will crack and split. The filling will. This is modified and it is heat secure so that we can use it. Now it is clear gel powder and it is the cook type. There is an instant type and a cook type. Be sure that you get the cook type. And I just ordered this on Amazon because it's not available in any of the stores around here. Our 1-minute timer is going to go off in just a moment. There it is. So we're going to go back and dish the cherries that have boiled for a moment back into the pan. So come on back here with me. In this pan, I have the other cherries that have already been boiled. And now I'm just going to get these out of this boiling water. They've boiled for 1 minute. You'll notice that the color is a little bit orange, which I'm not very happy with. But we're going to fix that with a little red food coloring and it will not be an issue. So I'm turning the heat off there. And these have to sit in this pan until we are ready to add them to the filling, which we are going to make here in just a moment. This is a double-sided pan, so it keeps things very hot. Okay, so we're done with this. Oh, our first thing that we're going to be doing is I have the sugar right here, and I'm doing 7 quarts of pie filling today, and so it called for 7 cups of sugar, and I'm just going to put this right here in my jam pan that I have so many uses for. And then this is 1 3/4 cups of that clear gel that I'm going to be putting in, and it acts just exactly like cornstarch, and so I need to mix that with the sugar so that so it will dissolve easily. I am also going to put some cinnamon in. Cinnamon is optional, but I like a slight cinnamon flavor. And so I'm putting in 1 teaspoon of cinnamon. I'm also going to be putting in the almond from the recipe, but I don't do that as long as it is under heat. I wait until I've taken it off the heat to stir in the almond. So I'm now going to just stir this up, mix the cornstarch with the sugar and the cinnamon making sure that it's very evenly distributed so that it will easily dissolve when we add the liquid in just a moment. Now, according to the recipe, after we have mixed those things together, we add the water. Now, this, it calls for 9 1/3 cups of cold water. I am using, instead of just the cold water, I am using the cold juice that was in the bottom of the pan after I thawed the frozen cherries. And you can use either frozen or fresh cherries. So this is the liquid that I'm going to be using, which is cherry juice instead of just the water. And you can see a little bit of the cornstarch floating on the top, which means I didn't get it mixed perfectly, but there's really no problem. Usually, I don't add any food coloring to my cherry pies. However, too much orange. So I am going to add just a little bit of red food coloring to help make it more appetizing. And this is gel food coloring. So we'll see what that did. All right. Now, I'm going to read the recipe so that we know where we are headed. It says, stir the mixture and cook over medium heat until the mixture thickens and begins to bubble. Then we add the lemon juice and boil for 1 minute, stirring constantly, and then fold in the drained cherries. I have our lemon juice right here, and I'm going to actually put this here so you can see it better. And we will be stirring this. It's going to thicken, but it thickens in kind of an unusual way, so we need to show that to you as we get going. So I'm just going to, you don't have to stir every minute, but I'm feeling some lumps on the bottom, so I'm going to stir until make sure that everything is dissolved. And we will bring you back periodically as this heats to a boil so I can show you what I mean by it thickens a little bit differently. So we'll be back soon. I'm trying to get rid of the foam on this so that you can see. One of the first things that you will notice is that you can scrape the bottom and it comes up gelled. But you need to keep stirring, and what happens is there are all kinds of little red floaties. You can probably see those right now. You'll wonder, where did those come from? Are there some cherries in there? And the answer is no. It is the clear gel, the modified cornstarch, that is starting to gel in little pieces. And so that means we're getting very close to having this all gelled together, but don't worry about the floaties, don't worry about the stuff that's on the bottom. Just keep it stirred so it doesn't burn on the bottom. This is almost done. You can see that there's still some color differentiation, but it's starting to boil. It's very thick, difficult to stir. Okay, so this is now bubbly, and we can add the lemon juice. Hey Siri, set timer for 1 minute.
1 minute, starting now.
All right, so we have our minute going for the lemon juice. It's popping me a little bit. Okay, now it is clarifying, getting a nice reddish color. We have to stir this every second. And there it goes. And we're going to move it off the stove. Now we stir in the cherries. These cherries have lost a lot of their liquid, but they will plump up in the filling. Fold these cherries in. Now this gives me an idea of how viscous the filling is going to be when I pour it into the pies. And so this is pretty close. If I need to add a little bit of extra juice that drained out of the cherries as they were heated in that pan, I can do so because I have some juice left in the bottom. But I think that this is about right for cherry pie. It's good. The color is good. I'm glad we added that little bit of extra food coloring. And now we've got our jars ready. Here's the funnel. And we leave 1 inch headspace. All right, we have 5 quarts, and even though that this was I should have done this first, make sure there's no air bubbles, which is really important. Then wipe, lid and ring, finger tight. I think the reason that we didn't get 7 quarts, even though we followed the 7-quart recipe, was because these cherries were frozen. And when they thawed, they gave up a lot of their liquid, so they are much less plump. And so if you are going to be using fresh cherries, this recipe probably will make 7 quarts. But for those of us who are using frozen cherries, I think the amount is going to be diminished because of the liquid that is lost. So this is how it looks. They're beautiful, hot. I'm going to put it in the canner. So here we are, all set. There's a good inch of water over the top. I'm going to put the lid on, and just as soon as it comes to a rolling boil, then I'm going to start my timer for 40 minutes, and then we'll turn off the heat, let it sit for about 5 minutes, and then we will take them out and take a look and see how we're doing. It has been several hours and we are back. Woof, what an afternoon. I have a total of 13 over here that have come out of the canner in 3 batches, 5 and 5 and 3. And then I have number 14 quart that is the leftovers after a couple of those batches. This has been in the refrigerator. It is chilled. I have the bottom crust in the pie plate right here. The pie crust it's my regular recipe. I will link the video that talks about the recipe. I'll also link the class that I talked about on making apple pie from scratch. So if you want a little review of how to make pies from the start to finish, you can attend that class, which is just about an hour. They're free. It doesn't cost a thing. And so we're going to continue. So with this one, I'm just going to now put the pie filling just like I would be taking it off the shelf, opening it up, and putting it in this pie shell. This is a 9-inch pie shell, and you'll see that it fits it just beautifully. Okay, so there we have it. Sometimes I dot these with butter. I'm going to skip that today. Now that the filling is in, I'm going to go ahead and cut the crust. The bottom crust I cut right next to the edge of the pie plate. Everybody does this just a little bit different. This is the way that I do it. And then I'm going to reach in the fridge and get the other one. I put it in the freezer. Jim pointed out that I have some of the filling on me. I'm wearing it proudly, given my day. So it'll wash out just fine, so it's not a problem. So I always chill the pie crust completely before I form it, and the filling is cold. Very, very important.
What makes it important?
It prevents a soggy crust. You put hot filling onto a cold crust, and the crust is cold, and then get it in the oven, it makes the crust a little bit soggy. So this is the top crust. Now I have a little star cutter. I'm just going to cut 4 little stars. And these will be my steam holes. And on the top it goes. Flipping it over. And then I cut the top crust probably about a 1/2 inch from the edge. And I got this idea with the little mini cookie cutters from my sister Cindy, who put hearts in her crust. And then I fold the under crust inside the upper crust so that it holds the filling in better. Not everybody does that. It's just my personal way of trying to keep the pie together. Okay, now that it's standing up that way, I just go all the way around like this. And ready to go in the oven. Now this is going to go in a 375 oven. I might bump it up to 400. The filling is completely done, so it doesn't need to be cooked. It needs to be warmed up, but the crust needs to bake. And so I'll pull this out when the crust is nice and golden brown. So we'll see you when the pie is ready to take out of the oven. I've come full circle. Here's our pie just out of the oven, and I like to top mine with a little bit of sugar. Sometimes I use the sugar that is larger grained, but it's nice to have a little sugar topping. Nicely browned. The crust is so tender. And all of that information will be in the 2 videos that I link at the end of this video. I hope you noticed how easy it is to make a cherry pie once we just can walk to our shelves and get that jar of cherry pie filling, make up a crust, and boom, there we have it. And so it is really, really nice. This is exciting to me. Cherry pie is my absolute favorite pie. And so we will now have, this is more than a year's supply for us. I don't make pies very often anymore. Jim and I are kind of trying to watch our waistlines just a little bit. And so I don't do big desserts a lot. But it's so nice to have it now easier than ever before with all of that, with all of those jars of pie filling out there just ready to go. I still have some apple out there as well. So I have some options, and it's always nice to have options. So thank you so much for being with us. I hope you try canning cherry pie filling and that you enjoy it as much as we do. And thank you so much for being with us. We appreciate you as always. And we will see you very soon for more videos.